changing in ways that just a few years ago, even they would have struggled to accept. Some brands are returning to values they once left behind. Some are walking away from programs that helped make them famous. And some are investing as much as $400 million just to rebuild their own restaurants. These aren't isolated decisions anymore. They're signs that the entire industry is entering a completely new phase. The 12 restaurant chains in today's video have all done things that very few people ever expected them to do. Look at each story on its own, and it feels like a small change, but put them all together, and the picture looks completely different. 12. McDonald's, even the biggest chain, finally had to go back. A lot of people noticed it before McDonald's did. The meal didn't change first. The way people ordered it did. Back then, people looked at the menu to decide what they wanted. Now, many people look at the menu to see what they're still willing to pay for. Some open the app before they even walk inside. Some ask about deals before they order. Some skip the drink altogether. A fast food meal that used to be decided in a few seconds has now become an expense people think twice about. McDonald's finally had to recognize that. Today, the company operates more than 43,000 restaurants worldwide. In the US, down about 95% of its locations are franchised. For years, McDonald's has been the company that set the pace for the entire industry. When it changes, the rest of the market usually pays attention. After several quarters of declining visits from lower and middle-income customers, McDonald's made McValue its core value platform to bring affordable meals back into the spotlight. At the same time, it rolled out its Best Burger initiative on a broad scale, changing the way beef is cooked, using softer buns, adding onions directly on the grill, and adjusting preparation methods to improve the quality of its familiar burgers. But the most interesting part isn't McValue or Best Burger, it's why those programs showed up in the first place. McDonald's isn't short on customers. Every day, tens of millions of people still walk through those golden arches. What's changing is what's sitting on the tray. Some people don't add fries, some skip dessert, some only decide to buy after seeing an offer in the app. On their own, those changes seem small, but when they happen over and over across thousands of restaurants, they stop being individual choices. They become signals that the world's biggest restaurant chain has no choice but to respond to. There's still one reality, though. About 95% of its restaurants are franchised. That means the same promotion can still come with different prices depending on where you are. In some places, people can easily get the advertised deal. In others, it's hard to find at all. McDonald's isn't at the bottom of today's list because it makes the best burger. It's here because, for the first time in years, the world's largest fast food chain has had to go back to what helped it grow in the first place. Not by adding another menu item, not by opening more restaurants, but by bringing back the feeling that people don't have to think too long before deciding to order a meal. 11. Wendy's. The chain had to explain itself before it could even make a change. The words dynamic pricing had barely been mentioned, and Wendy's was already getting questions. No menu boards had started raising prices automatically, but a lot of people heard those words the same way. More customers, higher prices. That idea spread faster than any explanation. What stood out was this. A lot of people didn't wait for Wendy's to explain its plans. They immediately connected it to ride-sharing apps, airline tickets, and hotels, where prices can change based on demand or the time of day. So, when those two words showed up in the restaurant business, many people instantly wondered about one thing. Would there come a day when the same burger costs one price at noon and a different price at 3 in the afternoon? That's what made the story explode. Not because Wendy's had raised prices, but because, for the first time, many people realized the technology already existed to make it possible. Wendy's later made it clear that it had no plans to raise prices during busy hours. The company's roughly $20 million investment in digital menu boards was meant to change what was displayed throughout the day, not to automatically increase prices when restaurants got busy. In the months that followed, Wendy's barely talked about the technology anymore. Instead, the Biggie Bag, priced at around $5 to $7, became the centerpiece of its value offerings. Today, Wendy's operates about 7,000 restaurants worldwide. More than 95% of its locations are franchised, which also means prices and promotions can vary from one market to another. But there's one detail that's worth noticing. Wendy's didn't just explain that it wasn't planning to raise prices during peak hours. It also almost stopped using the phrase dynamic pricing altogether. Instead, it talked more about value. combo meals, and affordability. That says something important. Sometimes the first thing a company has to fix isn't the technology, it's how people understand that technology. After all of this, what many people remember most isn't the digital menu boards. It's a question that still matters today. As technology becomes capable of making more and more decisions, where's the line people are still willing to accept? 10. Starbucks. The chairs that disappeared are coming back. A lot of people walk into Starbucks for coffee, but the first thing that changed wasn't the coffee, it was the place to sit. For a while, couches and comfortable seating gradually disappeared from many stores. The layouts were redesigned to move orders out faster, while grab-and-go drinks slowly replaced lingering over a cup of coffee, someone opening a laptop, someone reading a few pages of a book, two friends staying for another 15 minutes after finishing their drinks. Those familiar scenes started becoming less common. That was also when Starbucks drifted away from the idea of the third place it had once embraced. Not home, not work, but somewhere people could stay without feeling rushed. Then the numbers started to change. Customer traffic declined for 6 straight quarters. Starbucks launched its Back to Starbucks plan. More than 17,000 stores began going through changes. About 25% of the menu was cut to simplify drink preparation. The company committed around $500 million to hire more staff and retrain its store teams. Nearly 1,000 stores were upgraded, bringing back seating, ceramic mugs, and self-serve condiment bars. But the most important change wasn't the chairs, it was time. For years, Starbucks focused on serving people faster. Now it's investing in giving people a reason to stay longer. Another change happened at the same time. The extra charge of about 70 to 80 cents for many non-dairy milk options was eliminated. At many of the upgraded stores, drinks ordered for here are once again being served in ceramic mugs. Of course, the experience still isn't the same everywhere. With more than 17,000 stores, what you see today still depends on the location. But maybe the biggest thing Starbucks is trying to bring back isn't the chairs, and it isn't the ceramic mugs. It's the feeling that a coffee shop can still be a place to stay a while, instead of just a place to pick up a drink and walk away. 9. Domino's, the chain that let customers point out its biggest flaw. Your pizza tastes like cardboard. That wasn't a competitor saying it, and it wasn't a newspaper headline. It was a criticism Domino's put into its own advertising. No editing, no explaining it away, no trying to soften it. They let millions of people see it. Very few food brands would ever make that decision, because once a company admits its own product has a problem, there's no turning back. Either make a real change or lose people's trust for good. Domino's chose the harder path. It changed the crust, it changed the sauce, it changed the cheese, and it showed the entire process to customers. It wasn't just an advertising campaign. It was a promise that the criticism wouldn't stay on television. It would go straight into the kitchen. Years later, that mindset still hasn't disappeared. While many chains keep introducing new menu items to hold on to customers, Domino's continues focusing on what people order the most: the pizza. Today, Domino's operates more than 21,000 stores worldwide. More than 99% are franchised. Its mix and match deal still offers a wide selection of items for about $6.99 each when purchased under the qualifying terms. Domino's Tracker has also continued to evolve. What's interesting is this: many people aren't just waiting for the doorbell anymore. They're used to opening their phones and watching every step: preparing, baking, quality check, out for delivery. Knowing where the pizza is has, for many people, become almost as important as knowing when it will arrive. It's a very small change, but it completely changes the waiting experience. Domino's didn't just improve the pizza, it improved everything that happens before the pizza reaches the table. Maybe that's why the most memorable thing about Domino's has never been the criticism. It's that the company was willing to let that criticism become the starting point for every change that followed. 8. Texas Roadhouse, the two sides. The rest of the industry is slowly leaving behind too. It's just a small number, but it's something many families still talk about after leaving Texas Roadhouse. Two side dishes, not one. While many restaurant chains have been shrinking portions or breaking items apart to charge extra, Texas Roadhouse has held on to the approach it's followed for years. The warm bread still comes to the table before the meal. Two sides are still included with most entrees. The steaks are still hand-cut in each restaurant instead of arriving pre-portioned. Not because any of that costs less. In fact, it's the opposite. With the U.S. cattle herd at its lowest level in decades and beef costs continuing to rise, many chains have had to adjust their menus, reduce portions, or raise prices to offset higher costs. Texas Roadhouse chose the harder path. It kept the things customers had come to see as part of the meal, not as an extra charge. That's the part many people never notice. When the warm bread is placed on the table, no one asks if it's free. When the server asks, "What two sides would you like?" most people don't think they've just been given something extra, because after all these years, those things have become part of what customers expect. And once a habit becomes an expectation, it's often easier to take it away than it is to keep it. Today, Texas Roadhouse operates more than 800 restaurants. Sales continue to grow, while customer traffic remains among the strongest in casual dining. Each restaurant serves thousands of meals every week, with steaks hand-cut daily instead of relying entirely on pre-portioned meat from processing plants. At a time when so many chains are looking for ways to cut every possible cost, Texas Roadhouse keeps investing in the details that rarely show up on a financial report. A basket of warm, freshly baked bread, a serving of hand-whipped cinnamon butter, two side dishes still arriving with the entree. Maybe that's why so many people can't remember exactly which steak they ordered that day, but they still remember that the meal never started with an empty table. 7. Chick-fil-A. The drive-through line is long, but people still get in it. There are lunchtime rushes, when the line of cars stretches across almost the entire parking lot. From the outside, it looks like the wait is going to be long, but the line keeps growing anyway. A lot of people come back again and again because they already know what's going to happen. Orders are still brought right to the car. Team members are still walking between the lanes taking orders. The line keeps moving. While many chains have invested in screens, apps, and self-service kiosks, Chick-fil-A has continued investing in people. Today, the chain operates more than 3,200 restaurants. Average sales per location rank among the highest in the fast food industry, with many restaurants generating more than $9 million a year. Even with far fewer locations than many of its biggest competitors, its sales per restaurant remain among the industry's best. To handle heavy traffic during peak hours, many locations have team members taking orders in the parking lot with handheld devices instead of waiting for customers to reach the menu board. That process helps shorten service times and keeps the drive-through moving. What's even more interesting is that Chick-fil-A has largely stayed out of the long-running price war. Instead, it has focused on keeping its service consistent and investing in the experience people see every time they visit. That's also why those long drive-through lines outside many locations haven't gone away. 6. Olive Garden, the chain that's still holding on to what many others have let go. A bowl of salad has just been placed on the table. Nobody has asked for more yet. The server already says, "Would you like another?" At a lot of restaurants, the meal is over once the entree is gone. At Olive Garden, it usually begins with a bowl of salad and a basket of breadsticks brought to the table first. Years have passed, and that part of the experience has barely changed. While many chains have started charging separately for side items or shrinking portions to control costs, Olive Garden has continued offering unlimited salad and breadsticks with dine-in entrees. It's not a seasonal promotion. It's become part of what defines the brand. Today, Olive Garden operates about 920 restaurants. It is also the largest revenue driver within Darden restaurants. In its most recent fiscal year, the chain generated about $4 billion in sales, while customer traffic remained much steadier than at many other casual dining chains. Along with keeping its familiar service style, Olive Garden has continued investing in value meals for families and seasonal promotions instead of cutting back on the things customers have come to expect. Of course, dinner today doesn't cost what it did a few years ago. Food, labor, and operating costs have all gone up, but the bowl of salad still comes first. The basket of breadsticks is still placed on the table, and many families still feel like they're getting the experience they remember. Olive Garden isn't on today's list because it serves the best pasta. It's here because, at a time when so many chains have started taking away things that used to come with the meal, it has held on to a part of the experience people notice from the very first few minutes they sit down. 5. Chili's. The table for four is filling up again. Three small plates are set down in the middle of the table. No one has started eating yet, but everyone already has a fork in hand, not because each person ordered their own favorite dish, but because, from the very beginning, the meal was meant to be shared. That's a scene that's becoming more common at Chili's. While many chains have focused on getting more value out of every check, Chili's has been trying to add more value to the table itself. Its 3 for Me menu, starting at about $10.99, has continued to expand, making it easier to order a complete meal without feeling like every item has to be added to the bill, one by one. At the same time, the Triple Dipper has become one of its most popular menu items, not because it's new, but because it's something that can sit in the middle of the table and be shared. Today, Chili's operates about 1,600 restaurants worldwide. In its most recent fiscal year, same-store sales rose by more than 30%, making it one of the strongest performers in casual dining. Customer traffic also increased by more than 20%, while many chains in the same category are still trying to bring people back. That didn't happen because the menu suddenly filled up with new items. Most people are still ordering the favorites they've always liked. What's changed is the feeling that eating out isn't just for one person anymore. It's affordable enough for a family or a group of friends to sit down together, order a few dishes for the middle of the table, and eat the way they used to. Chili's isn't on today's list because it serves the best food. It's here because, while many chains have been trying to make each meal worth more, Chili's has chosen to make the table itself worth more. 4. Burger King. The first thing that changed wasn't the burger. The sign out front has been replaced. The dining room has been rearranged. The ordering counter is brighter. The pickup area looks different too. A lot of people walk back into Burger King after a few years and notice those changes before they even look at the menu. None of that happened by accident. For years, Burger King had been falling behind in many markets. Quite a few locations felt more outdated than their competitors. While many chains poured money into advertising or new menu items, Burger King chose a much more expensive path. It started rebuilding its restaurants. The Reclaim the Flame plan launched with a total investment of about $400 million, including roughly $250 million to help restaurants upgrade their dining rooms and equipment. Today, Burger King operates more than 19,000 restaurants worldwide, including about 7,000 across the U.S. So even updating one restaurant at a time is a project that will take years. The Whopper is still the familiar sandwich people know. What changed first was where people buy it. Brighter dining rooms, a reorganized kitchen, updated pickup areas, and drive-thrus designed to reduce wait times. That wasn't an easy decision. Changing a recipe might take a few months, but renovating thousands of restaurants means committing hundreds of millions of dollars before knowing whether people will actually come back. Burger King isn't on today's list because it makes the best burger. It's here because instead of simply changing the menu, it chose to start over with the place where it meets customers every day. 3. Cava. Not trying to be cheaper, trying to be fresher. The bowl hasn't even reached the register yet. The employee pauses for a second. Want to add some corn? Or swap it for cucumbers? The person standing there doesn't answer right away. They look back at their bowl one more time. Less rice, more greens, half a serving of chicken, less sauce. Only then is the meal really finished. That's something a lot of people notice the first time they walk into Cava. The bowl isn't decided in the kitchen, it's finished right in front of the customer. While many restaurant chains focus on coupons, value meals, and loyalty programs to bring people back, Cava has spent more time investing in the ingredient line itself. Vegetables are prepped several times throughout the day. Proteins are prepared using standardized procedures in each restaurant. Every topping is added only after the customer says yes. Today, Cava operates more than 400 restaurants. In its most recent fiscal year, same-store sales continued to grow at a double-digit rate. The company keeps opening dozens of new locations, while both average check size and repeat visits continue to increase. What's especially interesting is that Cava has largely stayed out of the price-cutting race happening across the restaurant industry. Instead, it's willing to spend a few extra minutes on each order to create something that's much harder to measure. The feeling that the meal is truly yours. Some people add extra vegetables. Some leave off the cheese. Some replace all the grains with greens. No two bowls are exactly the same. That's why Cava has chosen a very different path. Not trying to be the fastest, not trying to be the cheapest, but trying to make sure everyone leaves the counter with a meal that feels more like their own choice. 2. Red Lobster. Walking away from the thing that made it famous. The words ultimate endless shrimp are still enough to make a lot of people think of Red Lobster. For years, it wasn't just a promotion, it was an icon, a reason for families to come back together. The campaign people associated with Red Lobster more than any other menu item. Then everything changed. When the promotion was expanded into an everyday offer, customer traffic jumped. But food, labor, and operating costs climbed right along with it. According to the company, The promotion resulted in roughly $11 million in losses in just one quarter. Not long afterward, the restaurant chain, with more than 56 years of history, entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring. Most companies would do everything they could to protect their most famous symbol. Red Lobster chose the opposite. It stopped making endless shrimp the centerpiece of every marketing campaign. Instead, it began trimming the menu, reviewing every promotion, closing hundreds of underperforming restaurants, and rebuilding its business around a different priority, not bringing as many people through the door as possible, but making sure each restaurant could operate sustainably. Today, Red Lobster has about 500 restaurants remaining. Its new leadership has focused on simplifying operations, improving the guest experience, and putting its core seafood offerings back at the center instead of continuing to rely on an unlimited dining promotion. The most thought-provoking part isn't that a restaurant chain went through bankruptcy and restructuring, it's the decision it made afterward. It was willing to let its most recognizable symbol take a step back. Because if a promotion brings people in but no longer helps the business survive, holding on to it just to protect the memories can be even more dangerous than letting it go. Very few restaurant chains are willing to make that choice. One Waffle House, they stay open when everyone else shuts down. The lights are still on. There are still a few cars in the parking lot. The gas station next door has already gone dark. The grocery store is closed. Even many of the restaurants nearby have stopped serving customers. That's why so many people don't look at Waffle House as just another diner. They look at those lights as a sign. If Waffle House is still open, things probably aren't that bad yet. That idea has been around for so long that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has even used what's commonly known as the Waffle House Index as an unofficial way to gauge the impact of a disaster, whether a location is serving its full menu, a limited menu, or has closed entirely, can reflect how much power, water, supply chains, and local infrastructure have been disrupted. Today, Waffle House operates more than 2,000 restaurants. Most of them are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That model requires the company to invest heavily in its supply chain, staffing, and its ability to keep operating even during the toughest conditions. What's remarkable is that Waffle House didn't build that reputation through an advertising campaign. It built it by making the same choice over and over again for years. If it can serve people, it stays open. If it can't serve the full menu, it cuts the menu back. And only when it is no longer safe to operate does the restaurant close. That's why a Waffle House with its lights off draws more attention than almost any other restaurant chain. Throughout today's video, we've seen chains changing their menus, changing their restaurants, changing the way they serve customers. Waffle House isn't known for any of those things. It's known for one commitment: keeping the doors open longer than almost anyone else. And maybe that's the rarest thing in the restaurant business today. The 12 stories we covered today aren't about which restaurant chain is better than the others. Every brand has things it does well, and things it's still working to improve. What's worth paying attention to is this: when restaurant chains with completely different business models all start moving in similar directions, it usually points to a much bigger shift, not just in the way restaurants operate, but in the way people choose where to eat. Maybe that's why the most interesting question after this video isn't which chain ranked number one, it's this: out of all 12, which one surprised you the most? Was it a place you still visit all the time? Or one you haven't been back to in years, but are now thinking about giving another chance? I'd also love to hear what changes you've noticed yourself. Maybe it's a menu item, a different way of serving customers, a promotion, or simply a different feeling the last time you stopped by. Share your experience in the comments. Hearing real stories from people helps me better understand what's actually happening out there, and it gives me a stronger foundation for future videos. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.